So we're joined here with Julia Baker, who's from Daycare Digital, which is, well, I'll not explain it. I'll let you introduce yourself. Thanks for thanks for coming
thanks
here.
for coming. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's cool. Yes, I'm Julia Baker. I've been an ECT for more than 20 years, and now I run a company called Daycare Digital, which focuses on marketing and communications for childcare services and also services for children. And we also try and link the quality areas to social media. So we've not done enough. It's kind of
Yeah.
What's the biggest difference between being an ECT to what you're doing now?
Oh, well, I'm not on the floor, but
Do you miss it?
no, like so I've got 3 kids who are quite young, so it's kind of like that's where part of my shift has come in, is that I know that I'm really passionate about early childhood, but giving my time on the floor and every day in centres, that balance between being mum and ECT, like a hats off to anyone who can do it, but like I kind of couldn't. I couldn't like, just wanted to give more to my kids, but I retrained in marketing and communications. I've got a diploma from TAFE and did a lot of short courses and things, and so I consider myself to be a guru or expert in the space of marketing. And so it was like a bit of a light bulb moment really, when I remember sitting with some friends at dinner and going, oh my god, like that's what I can do. I can mix my passion for early childhood with my love of marketing communications and all that strategy and the exciting stuff of that, and combine them together and support childcare services. And there wasn't really anyone else doing it in my space, so I was like, oh, like maybe I've hit a bit of a niche here. So, yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So what made you kind of want to shift away from that?
Yeah. So
in the first place?
yeah. Obviously, I had in 2017 I had my 3rd child, and 3 kids under 4 was hectic. So just I was looking for a change, and I spent, after I retrained and everything, I spent a couple of years in marketing communications and doing that freelancing, and then like I said, it was that light bulb moment, and it was like but the want to change was because I still have so much to give as an educator, just not directly on the floor. I feel like my talent or my expertise is where it's sort of behind the scenes. I love curriculum and theory, and I'm A&R, I suppose, in a way. I'm like, let's get stuck in. I love all of that stuff, and I kind of want other people to be passionate about it too. So hopefully by using social media and marketing and stuff, but using a different tool, you can kind of get other people excited about doing their paperwork too.
Yeah. I think it's definitely something that people kind of think they can be excited by it and scared, I guess.
Yeah.
I would assume most people outside of social media and marketing think it's just a promotion tool, advertising.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing, but
yeah.
In your approach, like how would you say that you break down those stereotypes?
Yeah.
For centres?
Like obviously, social media and is a marketing tool. It is, like, we're not going to get away from that. But and it is really great if you're trying to increase your occupancy or connect with families and communities and things. I think that's really good. If you want to increase your occupancy in your wait list, definitely they're the tools to go for. But the thing is, like, families and prospective families, they expect you to have an online presence. So when you Google search something, childcare's in the area, you might come across various websites, all the directories and the ECEC website, and they'll say, oh yeah, there's such and such in Karen Bar or whatever. If from that point you're then going to, like, there's nowhere to find except a phone number, that can be a little bit daunting for people. They just want to, see what they're about. I want to see their feeds. I want to see their handbook. I want to know what's going on. I want to, they might go to a web. They want the presence. They want the online presence of seeing, okay, well, yeah, they're a functioning business. If you were to go to any other business, if they're not online, you're going to like, do they really exist? Like, are you sure about that? But like, it's the same for education and childcare services. They need to have that online presence to be current and be accessible. And I think people like to use social media. I'm even before I was in social media, have a good scroll of Facebook and Instagram, and people use that as a leisure tool. Like they use that as a downtime. So being able to access and childcare services from that side of things is a real area that's really really positive to go into.
Is there a minimum amount of social media platforms that centres should be involved in? Obviously, you have your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, your Snapchat, TikTok to a degree.
I think you need them all.
Yeah, obviously not. But
no.
do you have a recommendation for centres in terms of how many they should be on?
I would say very minimum Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Like Facebook. So for me, Facebook and Instagram are two very different platforms, and they have a different way of doing things. So Facebook would be somewhere where you would share links to articles and be seen as the thought leader space. Put your own spin on an article. I read such and such, and now I'm going to comment on it as an educator of what my perspective is. But you also might show photos and things of things the children are doing. Instagram is very visual. It's like looking through a magazine. You expect to see certain things when you follow hashtags, and so the Instagram side of things is really important, or for gaining followers, gaining traction and engagement. That's really important. It's not so much the number of people who are following you, but the number of people who engage on your posts, which means they like it or they see it. And you can do that by having a really good hashtag strategy. So the hashtags are you can have 30 of them in a post. And, if you're hashtagging EYLF, you're going to reach other people who are also following EYLF, because people follow hashtags, not just accounts. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I tend to go off on a bit of my mind's going a tangent. I get really excited about what I'm talking about, and then
it's good.
What's the question?
It's the sign. It's the sign of a creative mind.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
But we're talking about kind of engagement and stuff from people who I guess aren't in the centre, and reach them more. But how do you see social media as a tool for increasing parenting engagement?
Yeah. So. If you pare it back and go really basic, and if we look at, say, Instagram, because that's a bit more, I feel, more engaging. For example, you could post an experience of something that they're doing, like you post a couple of pictures and a description of what you've done, and say you're doing dinosaur play, so you might have hashtag dinosaur play, hashtag small world play, things that are like that describe what you're doing. And so then you would post things like EYLF, parent engagement, and quality area 1. So they would have, they connect with the educators, play things, connect with people who were following those. But then you can also have things like hashtag Sydney childcare, hashtag Caring Bar childcare, hashtag, the get down to the location side of things. And that gives parents who are looking for childcare in Sydney another option. But if they're following your centre anyway, it gives them an opportunity to see their child in a picture and say, oh, that's great, I saw that they were doing that, and physically comment in that. So obviously you've got the experience side of things, but you've also got policy review and things like that. So you can post a picture on Instagram. Doesn't have to be a photograph. It can be a list of things or a question. It could just be words. And so engaging parents that way, by saying what would you like to see on our menu this week? Parents are time poor. They don't have time to sort of, perhaps fill in a questionnaire, or drop, write on a chalkboard in the foyer or whatever as the means of parent engagement. But if they can go, oh yeah, my kid love that chicken schnitzel you cooked last week. Make sure you include that on next week's menu. Or grandma gave us a recipe for spaghetti bolognese. I'd love it if I'll send it in, I'll email it to you, or things like that. You're getting that parent engagement straight from the get-go, because parents are looking, if they're travelling on the train, if you're not working, I know if I'm travelling on the train and I'm not working on the train, I'm going to be scrolling my Instagram feed. And if I see my child's daycare, that's like, immediately I'm like, yep, I'm going to have a look at that, and I'm going to scroll through and see, and I'll see the photos. I might tag one of the other parents and go, have you seen this great photo of our girls together there? Look like they're having so much fun, or there's an excursion happening, or whatever. So it's getting that engagement, getting people social. That's the emphasis on it. It's social, and especially with COVID times, that parents haven't been able to go into centres and haven't been able to talk to educators as much, and haven't been able to talk to other parents. But on social media, it kind of bridges that gap a little bit.
Yeah, I might be jumping the gun here. I've got a question about this after, but you talked about parent engagement just then.
Yeah.
And obviously we know a large part of ANR is about parent engagement.
Yeah.
So obviously you got that parent engagement on Facebook or Instagram. Yeah. How do we get that to the assessor to show them?
Yeah.
What would you recommend there?
Okay, so there were a couple of ways. So I actually did a blog on this about how we can connect families and communities, and I've gone through all the quality areas and stuff, so I'll tell you all about that. But when it comes down to it, the nuts and bolts of being able to show it on your quip, and it's not a case of doubling up on your work, because as educators, we're all busy. Don't give me more stuff to do when I've already got to do 15 observations on my kids. I've then got to reflect on that. Then I've got to do this. Then I've got to do that. Then I've got to do the planning cycle. And, I've got a professional development course to go to. Plus, I might actually try and spend some time with these children. And, it's very paperwork heavy. I'm not saying to ever double up. Never do that. So it's really, really simple. So you can either sort of copy and paste from your documentation and put that straight on social media. And if you've got a hashtag strategy, that's one of the services I offer, is to create a hashtag strategy. But if you might have a guru in the in your in-house when you use them, you literally just copy and paste from the documentation, like, this is what we posted for our learning story today, blah blah blah, don't forget to check it out on the app as well, blah blah blah, those sorts of things. Or you can copy and paste from your social media into a document and put it straight onto your documentation. So it's right in the quip. Just put it in the section that you need it to be. You can take screenshots and things. The only thing I would say is no one apart from Instagram own Instagram. So don't be posting the URL, which is the link, the website link, and then putting that in the thing. That's the only thing you have to be really careful of, is because you don't own Instagram, they could just shut down your account whenever they want. And obviously building that up is really important, but we have to remember that we have to play by their rules. And so that's why you should always screenshot everything, because you don't own the platform. It's but in saying that, it's a fantastic platform. I don't want to shot myself in the foot, but it's like that with anything, any business. That's why you build up your database, for example. Those are the things that you hold tangible. So it's important to be on social media for that presence, and for even just a basic website for that presence as well. That they're very important to have that thing. But going back to the quip, there's copy and pasting.
Screenshot, copy and paste into your QRP.
Sorry. So no way am I asking people to double up on things. It would be so unfair. What do you want to do? Social media as well? No. If you wanted to do that would be great.
Just on parent engagement, are assessors looking for certain things with parent engagement?
I think they are wanting to make sure that you are engaging in it, and it's quality engagement. A lot of centres say, but we do these surveys and we do this and we do that, and we don't get nobody wants to talk to us. It's not so much about trying, it's about making it accessible. And I think when you make it accessible, you make it quality and genuine feedback. I think I think any feedback that you get is a win. Parents have different priorities for what they want for their children in childcare, and it just depends on that. So if you're a parent who loves coming in and having a chat and gives you feedback, that's great. But social media is one of those things where you can just go and get those people that kind of don't come in or maybe a bit shyer. So having that, and the assessors, the assessors want to see genuine feedback, genuine engagement.
I think that when we talk about, obviously you've gone from early education to marketing, but those two principle probably really fits in both. When you're in marketing, you want to just bring value, and that feedback, that anecdotal feedback, like comments on posts, is so important. You can do all the surveys you want, but as soon as someone's got the freedom in the space that they're comfortable with, it's so...
and because also it isn't anonymous in a way, is it? It's not, it's giving that face to a name, and people can see, those sorts of things. And I just think it makes, like you say, I'm probably just going to repeat you, but it's about being comfortable, and because it's accessible and people enjoy using it. It's like people use it on their downtime, don't they? So no, sorry.
No.
I've got all
That's
these
fine.
notes. But so one of the things like I talk about is how the social media actually meets the EYLF and the NQS. Is that something else you wanted to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Like I feel that social media is like one of the perfect ways of connecting with community and families, and of course it's relevant to quality area 6 and quality areas 4 and 7, so that whole leadership and things as well. So but it's about, the one thing that I found really important is it's about, and you talk about the genuine feedback, is that it's social proof of your intent for best practice. So it's there, it's in the moment. Like, take a photo, it's there. So like for each of the quality areas, there's really simple things that you can do. Is that the sort of things you want to hear about? So there's certain things you can do. So like for quality area 1, educational program and practice. So you're already documenting your experiences in your daily routine. So just post a copy of your daily story on that, so you can literally take the photos and copy and paste the text and pop them up, or as a PDF onto Facebook. There we go, it's there. Children's health and safety, you can talk to your centre's cook about the meals that they prepared, or post a risk assessment that you undertook for an excursion. The physical environment, you can have a video, highlighting the benefits. For example, the outside area is a slide, and talk about gross motor movements and those sorts of things. And staffing arrangements, so posting a picture of an educator a week, and giving that human side of things. We're not just talking about the programming and planning side, which is a big part of it, but parents and families and the community want to see who else is behind this. So if you've got your your director or your educational leader, every single person should be showcased through through social media, and like with their own personal philosophy, or with their what they like to do on the weekend, those sorts of things. Just give it that human side of, it's not just all about programming and planning. Relationships with children, quality area 5, so you can demonstrate the small, you do a small group activity, go live on Facebook with a small group activity, let your parents actually physically join in with those sorts of things. That's another way of getting engaged. Go live, over COVID times, when we were in lockdown, we went, our centre went live on Facebook, and they did a Zoom call as well. That's, and then you can pop those things on, and just be involved, directly. Collaborating with families and communities, or simply by asking them a question like, what activity do your children want to see in that sandpit this week? They might have come home and talked about that and just be really excited about it. And little Leo over here, he's can't wait to have the sandpit with all the trucks and the diggers. That's all he's talked about all week. So those sorts of things. And then governance and leadership. Talking about the policies and procedures, and I think it's like one of the really key areas of that you can use social media for is for your policy review. You don't need to just post, obviously you could post the policy up, but you could post key points, or you could post scenarios of like, what they would like to see in that particular situation, or, you could create very specific templates for your policy review. Just as policy review, and it has all the different things, so you can take it or leave it. If you don't want to know about it, don't know about it. Or it could be almost disguised in your social media. This isn't policy review. I'm just asking you a question. Almost the moment that someone says to you, I need you to review this policy. I'm going to switch off right now. I do this for work, or I read too much paperwork. I don't need to know that. But if you've asked them a simple question, as like a basic thing to do with a risk assessment, or what's the brand of sun cream should we put in our policy that's the one we're going to use when we go out, or whatever, anything like that, then you've reviewed your policy. You've got that feedback. You
got the family feedback again, which ties in with that QO6, I think it is, right? Parent communication and participation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously you're all for posting on social media. How you go about the privacy side of things? Obviously, there are a lot of parents out there who are concerned. There are directors as well. There are, management and so forth.
Yes, and that's really, really important. That's at the end of the day, that's, if you haven't got that, then don't post, right? So, I believe you have to have a social media policy in place, and that is to protect not just the children, but the educators and staff as well. Not all our educators feel comfortable being on social media, and that's okay too. So it's about having that policy in place, and it's usually tied in with a policy to do with your marketing and communication. So if your centre says, I want to use these photos, any photos that we take in the service, I want to be able to use for our own marketing and communication, which a lot of council services do things like that, then you've kind of covered yourself there. So, it's marketing, social media is marketing communication, it covers yourself there. But there are parents who don't want that, and that's fine, and educators and whatever. So, the idea is that you don't need to post those people. You have so many other options. It's not just about posting pictures of people, it's posting pictures of your setup. It's about having a conversation. One of the things that I'm really get excited about is the reflective practice, and that educators can do their own reflective practice online. You can have a conversation with another educator on the comments of your social media. You're not even in the picture, but you're having that conversation, commenting, I really liked it when so-and-so did this with the Play-Doh. How about we extend that next week? And what about if we add this? And that's the reflective practice. And that's another thing you can copy and paste and put in your own journals and so forth. But privacy is really key. You just have to make sure that everyone's cool with it, and that your policy's in place to cover yourself. It's about respect at the end of the day. And if people aren't comfortable with their faces being on it, then post other things. It doesn't have to be that.
Exactly.
One of the other things that I talked about recently was how you could video your setup and pack away as reflective practice, and that's another way that you could get people engaged with. If you video your setup, literally, I'm doing this now. Walk around with your phone and whatever, and you're setting up the activity and you're explaining while you're doing it. Then that's something else you can post on there, and then that's more reflective practice. The other thing is that how many conversations do you have when you're setting up an activity that they just disappear? They're just like, oh, we had that chat, but that's nowhere now. It's those things can just hop on your social media, a little video and whatever, and you've got it.
It's archive.
Yeah,
evidence.
Exactly. Evidence. It's all about evidence.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, I'm getting excited again.
That's all good. So you mentioned before about obviously not doubling up and stuff.
Yeah.
And if an educator was to say, well, I'm already adding this to the list of tasks that I'm already doing.
Yeah.
And even things like the copy and pasting.
Yeah.
Like even that I don't have time for.
Yeah.
I'm very under paperwork.
Sure.
What would be your approach to just trying to
Yeah,
streamline that?
So my approach would be how I approach any social media, and that's to batch content to everything. So I'm not saying like, okay, I'm doing my documentation and then I'm going to do this and I'll write it, then I'll screenshot it, and then I'll post it, and then blah blah blah. Your posting should be, only do one post a day to keep it active. You don't need to do more than that. It doesn't need to be everybody doing it. It could be just like, oh, today you're going to, Monday's so and so, whoever's doing the programming for the day. So batch content. So you could literally have you could screenshot all your documentation or whatever and save it into a folder, and then once a week someone just uploads those and get a scheduling tool.
Yeah.
Like I use I don't know if I'm allowed to name. Am I allowed to?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I use Tailwind, but there's Later, there's Planoly, there's Buffer. There's all different ones that you can post, and you just literally go, on Monday I'm doing that one, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then it's done.
Yeah.
You set and forget. So it's not. This I feel is a really good tool, and just like any other tools, you do have to give it a bit of time. But I'm not saying that you have to double up or you have to go over and beyond. It's just taking what you already do, and don't think that the photos that you take have to be Instagrammable. The typical Instagrammable photo. It's not about that. It's not I must pose. I must have my duck face on. I've got to have the right filter. It's about keeping it real, and the simple way of doing that is like just post what you have, and have obviously there's a whole thing about keeping it on brand and those sorts of things, but all you have to do is have a coloured box and just put the picture in it, and then you're there. It's, that's all you need, or add your logo or whatever. But batch content.
With all those apps, like I think it's obviously, I guess we're in. If you looked at it on the surface, like it would be two completely different things, but I guess it's all about, we understand the pressures and the time pressures that educators are in, and obviously
and I've been
software
there.
Ours as well. It's all about just, I think it all boils down to trying to save as much time doing the paperwork and doing all of this kind of stuff, so that people can do what they actually got into the profession for.
Absolutely.
Time with children.
Yeah.
So if you had to leave one tip for early educators from everything we've talked about, or even not, what would it be?
Be present, both in the classroom and online.
Interesting.
That's what I would say.
That definitely ties in.
Yeah.
We've got what's on that as well. So that's great. Thanks so much for.
That's all right. I had heaps of other bits and pieces. There's so many different. This is so exciting.
There is,
I'm really excited about what I do, and I sometimes like me saying it, getting it out of my head and into the space and explaining it. It's kind of, there's like, I don't know, a filter somewhere that goes, hang on a minute, you're going off on a tangent. So.
No, I get that all the time. I know what you mean.
So where can people find you if they want to find you?
So I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Daycare Digital, and also on my website www.daycaredigital.com.au.
Excellent.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
All the best.